This week on Fields of Glory, we are heading to the Bulldog Nation, Athens, Georgia, the home of the Georgia Bulldogs, where a little fella named Ugga is the big dog on campus. That's coming up next on Fields of Glory. Touchdown! The University of Georgia, located 65 miles northeast of Atlanta in Athens, is America's first chartered state college, incorporated in 1785. This charming college town was named for the Greek city of Athens, which represented higher learning. Sitting right in the heart of campus is Sanford Stadium, home of the Bulldogs. Each home game brings a sea of red-clad Georgians to this tiny town, nearly tripling the population. Over 90,000 barking fans sing out the Bulldog rallying cry.
In the South, football is considered a religion. You don't do anything on football Saturday. My sister was telling me she's getting married soon, and she told me she wanted to get married in October, and I said, I probably won't be there because we got football going on, so you need to change that wedding date.
That's what it's all about down here is the Dog Nation. It's all about how much they love the Bulldogs. Everybody around this area has a good Bulldog following. The University of Georgia is nothing but that. Everything in academics is real good, but people love this university because of its athletic programs and how good they are.
Of course, there's not a whole lot to do in Athens except, participate in athletic events. The downtown area of Athens is not Atlanta, Georgia, or a bigger city, and so the football is a big part of this university.
I've been here 4 years. Each time, each game we walk in there, it's a different feeling because, it's so exciting and thrilling just to be a part of the whole atmosphere of the screaming fans and, the Bulldog Nation.
It's the people. You've got an unbelievable academic institution, but it still feels like a small town atmosphere, which Athens is, but gosh, our school is a large school. Of course, we've been playing football here over 110 years and a lot of deep-seated passion for this program, and it shows not only on Saturdays, but about 365 days a year.
Here we go, Bulldogs! On game day, a capacity crowd crams into Sanford Stadium to root on their Bulldogs. Sanford Stadium is named after a former college president, Stedman Sanford, who was the major force in getting the stadium built in 1929. The stadium was built in the middle of campus on top of a creek that still runs under it to this day. On Saturdays in the fall, it becomes the football focal point for the entire state of Georgia.
We want you to be surrounded by Georgia when you're here. If you're off some other place, I think that takes away from the atmosphere a little bit, but when you're in our stadium, you're surrounded by everything that's Georgia and everything that's special to this campus and this community.
This used to be just two big old hills, and they built bleachers in it. In the 1920s, they just built the bleachers right over the hills.
Beautiful setting. We go to a lot of stadiums, and I can't think of one that's any prettier. Located in the natural bowl.
This one originally was built with prison labor. They brought the prisoners from North Georgia State Prison down here, I guess, in 1927 and 28, and they're the guys who laid the foundation, laid the bricks, and everything else.
It's been expanded 5, 6 times. They've blended the old architecture with the new architecture. You can look around and you wouldn't realize that this wasn't all built at once.
Each addition was compatible with the basic structure of the stadium, and then when one looks at it today, they never thought that there's been any additions, that it's all just one structure.
Sanford Stadium is also famous for the hedges that surround the field. They were planted when the stadium was constructed in 1929, but the hedges soon took on a life of their own.
When I was a student at Georgia, somebody beat us on the road. Well, wait till next year, we'll get them between the hedges. And that's where that term came from. At some point, somebody Just speaking like next year, it'll be our home game. They'll have to play between the hedges, so we'll have the advantage.
Playing between the hedges. I mean, I think that is known all around the country. We had Boise State in here last week, and you hear about them saying, hey, we get to go play between the hedges.
There's nothing better than running out in between those hedges every Saturday and those screaming dog fans. They get loud, they love us, and we love to play for them, and they have no idea how much it means for us to be able to play between the hedges, because that's what it's about.
When visiting teams come to our stadium, and if they're lucky enough to beat us, they always want to break a piece of the hedge off and take it home with them. Our notoriety of playing between the hedges is something that people are envious of, or they wouldn't want to break a piece of it off. Take something home as a memory of playing there and winning in Sanford Stadium.
The hedge has been there since 1929, and we'd like to say that means something, but it's normally that red hat with a G on it makes a difference, not the hedges.
It really does. It really helps you announcer when you're winning. And I've been really fortunate because I've had winning football teams, a whole bunch of them.
Coming up next on Fields of Glory, we will meet UGA, the famous Georgia Bulldog, one of the nation's most recognizable and beloved mascots. And a look back at the Bulldog heroes of the past, including Heisman Trophy winner Herschel Walker. Tradition and history are everywhere on the Georgia campus. The gateway into the university is known as the Arch. This wrought iron gate was cast in 1858 and is patterned after the one on Georgia's Great Seal. Its three columns represent wisdom, justice, and moderation. As legend has it, if freshmen walk under the arch, they will never graduate. Across campus is the Butts-Mayer Heritage Hall, named for two of the most successful coaches in Georgia's history, Wally Butts and Harry Mayer. Not only does the 85,000 square foot building house all the spoils of Georgia's great past, but it's also the everyday home of the Bulldog football team.
It was amazing the amount of great players and people that have come through this program over the years, and now we're just trying to honor those traditions, honor those people, and then hopefully build on it.
The University of Georgia played its first football game in 1892, and over that time, the program has seen its share of great football players and coaches. Players like Frank Sinkwich, the 1942 Heisman Trophy winner. Hall of Famer and Athens native Fran Tarkenton. Running back Garrison Hurst. And defensive end Richard Seymour. But no Bulldog player has had more of an impact on this university than the kid from down the road in Wrightsville, number 34, Herschel Walker.
He had world-class speed. He could fly for a big man, and he was a big man, great strength. And then mental toughness and mental discipline like I've never seen. He was like Old Man River. The longer the game went on, the stronger he got, and he had tremendous mental toughness that enabled him to keep going when everybody else sort of wore down a little bit.
Well, you know, it's amazing. Herschel Walker was here 25 years ago. He's, no question, the most identifiable Georgia player still.
He has probably single-handedly helped put Georgia on the map because of the things that he's done. I'll tell you this, he won the Heisman one year. Herschel probably could have won the Heisman Trophy every year that he was here. He was that special of a player.
While Walker's impact on Georgia football is indisputable, the man who recruited him, Vince Dooley, reigned over Georgia football as their head football coach for a quarter of a century.
Coach Dooley came here as a coach in the early 60s and had tremendous amount of success, stayed here for 40 years, and he's done a lot for this university, and he's done a lot for this state. He will go down as truly a legend in the University of Georgia.
Vince Dooley is the man who brought this program really into the big time, to a national stage, and who was able to see what was going on around the country and grow not only the football program, but the entire athletics program, so that it's a Sears top 10 school every year. And of course, the football program and his 201 wins speak for themselves.
Well, I have been very fortunate to have coached here 25 years, and during that period of time to have seen athletes that I had the privilege of coaching, and you really feel that perhaps in some small way you might have touched them, which I think is a special reward of coaching, when they come back and say just those two simple words, "Thanks, Coach." And I've had that reward.
You can talk about Walker, Hurst, Dooley, or any of the other great Bulldogs, but the most popular Bulldog is a little fella named Uga.
He's had a busy day already.
Uga is something special. He was voted at one point in time the #1 mascot in the country on the front of Sports Illustrated.
I can remember myself and Coach Dooley and Uga going for a trip to meet people and take pictures, and there was a Georgia delegation there and everything, and everybody wanted a picture with Uga. No one seemed to care to have a picture with Coach Dooley and I, you know.
When I was coaching, Uga used to fly first class. And it was kind of embarrassing. You know, he'd fly first class, and all the players would be in the back. I don't know if he's the prettiest mascot in the world, but I tell you what, he might be the most pampered one I've ever been around.
And while Uga has been recognized as a longtime mascot of Georgia, it didn't start out that way.
The first mascot was a goat. We played Auburn. Auburn beat us. So everybody got depressed, and they barbecued the goat. So that was the end of the goat. He only lasted one game.
The Georgia Bulldogs became the official nickname in the 1920s, but the legacy of Uga started in 1956, when Frank "Sonny" Seiler took his new pet bulldog to Sanford Stadium and drew the attention of then head coach Wally Butts.
Somebody said, "Let's take him to the game." He attracted a lot of attention, and his picture appeared in the Atlanta Constitution, and I got a call saying Coach Butts wants to see you in his office. And for a moment, I thought maybe I'd done something wrong. But he told me that he'd heard about Uga, and he thought that that could stir up some excitement, and could they use him for a mascot? Well, naturally, I was honored.
People love to hug Uga, but just think about it. You wouldn't want to hug Bevo at Texas, would you? Or the Michigan Wolverine? Or the LSU Tiger? Well, you can hug Uga. He'll slurp on you, and it's safe, and it's romantic. Kids love to have their picture made with Uga. Adults love to have their picture made with Uga.
Georgia is now on Uga 6, but the 5 other Ugas that preceded him are still close to the action. Before each game, fresh flowers are placed at the final resting place of all the Ugas.
If you go inside Sanford Stadium, the graveyard's in there, where the dogs are and the monuments for each dog, so that shows you how special they are to us.
Naturally, there have been some great stories about Uga throughout the years. This may be the most famous picture as the big dog was looking to take a bite out of an Auburn player who just scored a touchdown. But the most unusual story just may come from Baton Rouge.
We're playing LSU in Baton Rouge on a Saturday night, and, you know, they can get the Mike, they call him Mike, the Tiger, just in a roar. The cheerleaders that handle Mike were watching Uga come out on the field, and they were going to get him fired up and make the big roar as Uga came up to the cage. But they didn't know earlier in the year that particular Uga had lost his hearing. And when Uga walked up to Mike's cage, the cheerleaders prodded him a little bit, and he came out with that big roar. Of course, Uga couldn't hear a thing. He eased over by the cage, hiked up, and took a leak on the cage, and the Georgia fans went crazy.
Coming up next, it's game day in Athens, and the Bulldog Nation is getting fired up for their big SEC matchup versus South Carolina. Larry Munson has been broadcasting Georgia football for 40 seasons. He is the voice of the Dogs.
Still trying to come in. The kick, beautiful, high spiral. And we'll go fair catch and then drop it.
Game day at the University of Georgia. The tailgaters are out in full force surrounding Sanford Stadium, and the fair has a distinctive southern flair.
We got a low country bowl here. It's kind of New Orleans style. Everybody comes and feasts on it. It's a cornucopia of blessed food. Quesadilla.
Quesadilla. Good old southern cook with baby back ribs and pork ribs.
Gotta season the beef. Gotta season the beef before you do it.
Part of the tailgating tradition are flag football games with Georgian youngsters who just may someday wind up playing with the big boys.
Oh, what a grab.
And we've had kids to play touch football at their tailgating scene come here and walk on and play and letter at Georgia. So I think it's a tradition that has such deep roots.
The tailgating and the flag football are just a warm-up for the biggest pregame tradition, the dog walk.
I've seen fans before standing around in the Tate Center area, and when the drums hit the first note of the dog walk, they literally jump because they know it's time to start getting ready.
My favorite part of game day is definitely the dog walk. It's just a really cool experience to part that whole mass of people when the band comes in and then play really, really loud when the football team comes down.
Probably the most thrilling 5 minutes you ever go through in your life, you know, just walking through all those people screaming, yelling, they're so fired up for the game. You ever got to the stadium and you can feel the intensity of the game already just by walking through the fans and, you know, feeling their enthusiasm.
And to watch the people hanging off of the sides of buildings, hanging over the bridge, hanging in trees. They stand up in our tent, you know, we got to tell them, don't pull on the tent, don't pull on the tent. The whole tent's going to come down on 200 people just to watch the players walk through.
There's just tens of thousands of people down there, you know, waiting just to maybe give you a high five. We see that, and it gets us real hyped up for the game to see their enthusiasm.
A big part of Georgia football includes the famed Redcoat Band. Now into their 101st year, the Redcoats are considered the heart of the Bulldog spirit.
It's Saturday afternoon in Athens. And it's time to tee it up between the hedges.
It's an awesome sight to walk out of the locker room into our stadium, and you look up and there's a sea of red. It's a very picturesque view, as well as a very awesome, awe-inspiring view when you come out there.
It's the doghouse. There's 92,000 screaming of your closest friends, and it is an amazing place to play.
It was intimidating to me the first time that I was the head coach of Georgia, and I'm like, wow, this is unbelievable. It's so much bigger than you could imagine.
It's just unbelievable. You know, I just had to sit there and just take it all in for a minute. I was in awe, you know, looking up in the stands like, wow, I've arrived.
And to walk into the stadium and you had people that were all crowded around and excited and ready to play, and if that didn't get you adrenaline flowing, there'd be something wrong with you.
Georgia in red, South Carolina in white on a hot Saturday afternoon. End of the ring kick is pretty deep. It's about 4.
Larry Munson has been broadcasting Georgia football for 40 seasons. He is the voice of the Dogs.
Still trying to come in. The kick, beautiful, high spiral.
Larry Munson is the voice of Georgia football. He's like a god to a lot of people that support the University of Georgia.
Shockley in trouble, trapped and fell back behind the line and lost 4 or 5 yards.
He's kind of Mr. Doomsday, you know. The other team's always better. We're always in terrible danger and peril, and it's kind of like the sky is falling all the time, and then somehow we pull it out in the end, you know. He can make any game about as dramatic as you could imagine.
He will be the toughest person to replace that'll ever be replaced at the University of Georgia will be Larry Munson.
You've got to realize that if your team is winning, that makes you sound good. It really does. It really helps you announcer when you're winning. And I've been really fortunate because I've had winning football teams, a whole bunch of them.
Run a receiver in motion right. Shaka going to run out there. Shaka got blocking. 5, 10, touchdown! Shaka was really moving. They hit him on about the 1.5.
Man, these fans are unbelievable, man. These fans, that mean so much to me because, you know, their fans, they back you up, you know, no matter what. You know, if you do good, if you do bad, they're still behind you. When it's late in the fourth quarter, you might be down by 6 or 7. The way that they come together, you know, cheer you on, it just gives you that extra strength when you're dead tired. It seems like you can't go on no more.
To the line, come back to shotgun, going to take it. He's going to hand it off and cutting in there. Touchdown! Thomas Brown at left guard in a big hole. The crowd is really into it, trying to help. And Mitchell, we're coming on, and one man got him. They spun him around on the 13-yard line. And the ball game is over, and we have staggered in here and won a whale of a football game, 17-15.
Since the 1890s, after every Georgia Bulldog victory, the chapel bell is rung in celebration. For 115 years, freshmen have been compelled to ring it until midnight. Well over a century later, that bell is still ringing.
There really isn't anything like being a Bulldog on a Saturday night when that chapel bell rings, because that signifies victory, that signifies another good day in the Georgia Bulldog Nation. And so hopefully that bell will ring 6 times at home this year to be undefeated. And when we're gone, they need to ring it when we're not even there to make sure that we win it all 11.
For Fields of Glory, I'm Brent Musburger.